While our opponents are only making baseless accusations, I will provide you with concrete examples of the crimes of Ukrainian nationalists. According to information from the Investigative Committee of Russia, a criminal case has been launched in respect of the Deputy Commander of the Firing Brigade for Educational Work of the military unit A-2777 of the 36th Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces Marines, Senior Lieutenant Sergei Batinsky, who committed an absolutely monstrous crime. At the beginning of April, in Mariupol, Ukrainian soldiers from this brigade detained on suspicion of separatism and put them into a cellar. Later, while drunk, Batinsky threatened her with murder and raped her in the presence of her husband. When the man tried to stop this crime from taking place, the Ukrainian soldier shot him in front of his wife. Batinsky admitted to doing this in a video interview which is widely available. On the 7th of March, near the Kommunar mine in the Donetsk region, DPR service personnel clearing mines from the area discovered a storage facility containing the bodies of 4 women. The forensic report indicated that before they were killed, they were tortured and raped. One of them was pregnant. In this area was where the Aidar Nationalist Battalion was based. On the 28th of March, Nazis from the Azov Battalion in the number 18 school building in Mariupol raped and tortured a woman to death. Her disfigured body with severed hands and a swastika burned on her belly shocked the world, and we mentioned this tragedy at the meeting on the 11th of April. Currently, on the liberated territories of Ukraine, the DPR and the LPR, work is being done to identify cases and evidence of Ukrainian army crimes. They are being documented by the investigative bodies of Russia and the Donbas republics. Mr. President, Ukrainian nationalists are infamous for their cruelty, but they also contain units whose barbarity, even in the eyes of the Kiev authorities, have exceeded all acceptable bounds. In the summer of 2015, in Ukraine, a scandal emerged around the Tornado Nationalist Battalion. The Ukrainian authorities accused its fighters of looting, torture, violence against men and women, pedophilia, murder, and the abduction of Ukrainian civilians. Many of the guilty parties were prosecuted at the time, including the battalion commander Anishenka. However, in March of this year, all of these criminals were amnestied by President Zelensky. After nearly 2,500 fighters from the neo-Nazi nationalist Azov battalion and Ukrainian army service personnel surrendered in Mariupol, having ended their pointless resistance in the Azovstal plant, an investigation of the crimes they committed is being conducted. An active role is being played in this by the residents of liberated Mariupol. Soon, the international community will learn the full truth about these crimes, including crimes of a sexual nature committed by Ukrainian nationalist units and the Ukrainian armed forces, that the Kiev authorities and their Western sponsors are trying to glorify. There is numerous evidence of how these lowlives fired at civilians, doctors, volunteers who were trying to provide assistance to the wounded. Ukrainian tanks and artillery fired at point-blank range on residential buildings, and the orders from commanders to this effect were mentioned by the Azovstal prisoners, and they also hid in a residential building from the shelling of Russian armed forces. The Azov battalion members did not allow the wounded to leave hospitals, set fire to buildings, and intimidated and mocked civilians. In Mariupol, a burial of as many as 300 bodies was discovered, where, according to witnesses, the Azov fighters took the bodies of people that had died they had killed in the period when they controlled the city.